Good evening. I'm Alderman Lysick. Mayor Devine is unable to be here this evening. He's out of town on city business. First order of business will be the call to order. Roll call, please.
Alderperson Weigel.
Here.
Grisham.
Here.
Haas.
Here.
Keen.
Here.
Lysick.
Here as acting mayor.
Ranky.
Here.
Rote.
Here.
Stefanski.
Here.
Tenorio.
Here.
Vitale.
Excused.
9 present, 1 excused.
Those who are able, if you would please rise for the pledge led this evening by Alderman Weigel.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have 6 public hearings this evening. We're going to start out by combining the first 2 since they're both related. If the clerk would please read the notice.
Ordinance to repeal and recreate the zoning code and an ordinance to repeal and recreate the city zoning map.
Our planning department will be in charge of making the presentation.
All right, thank you, Alderman Lysick. My name is Zach Roeder. I'm a planner with the city's Planning and Zoning Office. So we'll be combining both of the city zoning ordinance and zoning map. We'll be considering those at the same time here. Just some background, some of the key things that informed our zoning code update. We had 3 overall objectives that we wanted to accomplish with this update. First off, make the code easier to use. We want anybody to be able to understand the code and quickly get the information they need. We wanted to add more taxable value to the city by allowing more density where it's appropriate, creating more flexibility for development, and lowering the code's burden on property owners. We can grow the city's tax base. And our third overall objective is to really fit the West Allis of today and tomorrow. The zoning code that's in place right now was adopted in 1995. So we know that this zoning code will be in place for the long distant future here, in the next probably 20 years or so. We want to have a good framework that's adaptable, and it has a lot of the newer best practices that can really move our city forward. So before getting into the details of the zoning code update, we wanted to share some of our public input we had from an online survey that the Planning and Zoning Office had open for a month. We had a great response rate, 195 responses. 171 of those were residents from the city of West Allis. We also had about a dozen business owners, property owners, and developers, and then a handful of visitors. We had a wide range of ages that responded to the survey, everything from kids in high school up to senior citizens. Over half of the respondents were 40 or older. Our largest demographic was that 40 to 59 range. We had 67 respondents from that age category. And then our smallest group was the 20 to 39 range with just 30 respondents. We also had responses from all aldermanic districts. We had at least 24 responses from every district. The most responses came from districts 3 and 4 with 36 and 38 responses. One of our key findings from the online survey was about housing types. In the survey, we asked survey takers how important or unimportant they felt it was to allow for a variety of housing types to be built in West Allis' residential areas. In this question, we wanted them to consider the types of missing middle housing in between a single family residence and multifamily housing, so 2-unit dwellings and 3 to 4-unit dwellings specifically. We found the data to show us very clearly that residents felt it was important to allow for more housing types. 46% of the respondents voted it was that it was important to allow more housing types, a little bit less than double the amount that found it to be unimportant. This trend was even stronger for those under 40 years old, so for the people who will be living in our city for the distant future. 68% of those found it to be important to allow for more housing types. Our survey also had a visual preference section in which survey takers rated the attractiveness of a variety of commercial properties. We had properties that looked different based on their setbacks, based on their number of stories, their design, and the amount of parking. The picture on the left shows the highest rated image, looks similar to our downtown with multiple stories, buildings built out all the way to the property lines, and no off-street parking. That had an average score of 3.9 out of 5, 5 being the most attractive. The lowest rated image is on the right. This shows kind of generic big box property with a large setback, a large underutilized parking field, and kind of a basic design that had a score of 1.4 out of 5. So these kind of, we want our zoning code to be promoting these more attractive types of buildings and properties that residents prefer. So getting into the changes, the first thing we wanted to do was update the format to be easier to use to meet that objective. This meant reducing its length and improving its readability, primarily by switching to a table-based code where information is in clear, concise tables instead of long lists and blocks of text that can be difficult to parse through. We also simplified the organization into 5 subchapters: administration, districts, uses, structures, and plan development. This order is a logical way for somebody to make their way through our zoning code. You can start with the basics in administration and get the background on the code, and then find the zoning district you are part of, the uses that are allowed in that district, and then what you can build on your property. A key change was simplifying the zoning uses. We updated terminology and removed obsolete uses to make this easier to read and understand. And we also combined like uses into general categories and subcategories. The existing code has hundreds of specific uses, many of which share the same permissions in the same zoning districts. Things like a bike shop or a bookstore are functionally the same, but we had been considering them separately. Now we'll be combining these into subcategories such as neighborhood retail or general retail, so that we can consider much more altogether and make things clearer and more concise. We'll still be continuing to specifically regulate more sensitive uses, such as pawnbrokers, nominal price retail stores, or thrift retail stores. And a lot of these are ones that the Common Council has adopted specific regulations for. As part of our terminology updates, we'll be changing some of our use classifications. In the past, we had 2 major use classifications, either a permitted use or a special use. We will now have 3. Our permitted use will be the same. It's a use that's allowed without any specified conditions. A limited use is a new type of use that's allowed upon meeting all the conditions specified in the code. And a conditional use is really an update to the term special use. And that's a use that's allowed upon meeting all the conditions specified in the code and those imposed by the Common Council. So how would this work? A permitted use, this is something that's allowed by right. Once a person recognizes that their use is permitted, they can apply for the appropriate building permits or business occupancy permits. An example of this would be a shoe store. If they were to move into a retail unit in a C3 district, for example, it would be a permitted use, and they could just start applying for their occupancy permit and proceed as usual without any need for special Common Council review. A limited use is slightly different. They must satisfy the criteria that's specified in section 19.33. If satisfied, it would be allowed just like a permitted use is without the need for a public hearing or Common Council approval. Example of this would be a tobacco shop. In our new zoning code, this would be considered a nicotine sales use. It would be allowed in District C3, C4, M1, and M2, and it would have to meet the criteria specified here, that it's at least 1,000 feet from a variety of different uses. So if it's more than 1,000 feet from those uses, it would be allowed similar to a permitted use and could go forward with its occupancy permit. If it does not meet that requirement, it would not be allowed. And then last, the conditional use. This must satisfy all the criteria specified in section 19.34. If it does satisfy the criteria, it must obtain a conditional use permit, and so it must go through a public hearing and Common Council approval process. It also must agree to satisfy or satisfy all the conditions imposed by the council. An example of this would be a check cashing business. This would be considered a payday lender use in the new zoning code. It would be allowed as a conditional use in districts C4, M1, and M2, and it must meet this criteria that it's at least 3,500 feet from any other payday lender. So if it is within 3,500 feet of any other payday lender, it would not be allowed. If it's further than 3,500 feet, it would be allowed, but it would have to go through that conditional use process and that Common Council public hearing. Several key changes that we're proposing for uses are as follows. 2-unit dwellings is one thing that we've considered at the Safety and Development Committee back in February. In our proposed zoning code update, we would be allowing this as a permitted use in RA3 instead of a limited use, which it currently is. This is intended to allow more kind of free market choices in the housing market, allow people to locate in more neighborhoods, and would also make a number of existing duplexes a conforming use in the RA3 district. Especially with the response from residents in the survey, we felt this was important to include. Another change would be restaurants. Small restaurants, less than 2,000 square feet, would be allowed as a permitted use instead of a conditional use as they are right now. The goal of this is to reduce regulatory burdens for small businesses that have to go through these extra steps with extra time and spend more money to open a business that typically doesn't have a huge impact on the neighborhood. It's important to note that these small restaurants would still require an occupancy permit and inspections if it was moving into a building with a drive-through also. That would require a conditional use process for that as well. So a small business would still need to get that if it has a drive-through. Some changes to our accessory uses. Accessory dwelling units is a new type of accessory use that will be allowed in this zoning code. It would be considered a limited use. There cannot be more than one per lot, and it must meet a variety of regulations found in 19.42. One of these regulations would be its size. This is a slight update from what we presented to you last. We are rounding up to 700 from 650 square feet. Another key change would be to our home occupation section of accessory uses. Right now we have just a general home occupation category. We would be breaking this down into two parts, home office and home business. A home office is a home occupation where there's no clients going to the dwelling unit and there's no packages sent from the dwelling unit. So really this has no real discernible impact on the neighborhood. We also have home businesses, and that would be any home occupation where there are clients coming to the site and there are packages being sent from the site. Home offices would be a permitted use without need for an occupancy permit. And this would really be an important way to reflect some of the changes in working from home that we're experiencing and would make things a lot smoother for residents who want to work from home. Home business would be a limited use. An occupancy permit would be required, but no inspections would be required. This limited use would have to meet a certain set of regulations. These regulations were designed to keep the character of the neighborhood residential, and it's thinking more about the impacts of the home business than the type of home business. In the past, we had a list of different businesses that were allowed to be home businesses. This can be kind of difficult to enforce because it's not very adaptable to changes in what kinds of businesses could operate from home. So instead, we've really focused on what their impact is on the neighborhood. For example, what time they can operate from, how many clients can be on the premises at one time, where on the site the business can operate, and other regulations like that, as you see in this table on the bottom right. Another key change is to improve our structural regulations. The goal of this is to reduce the number of non-conforming properties, allow for desirable buildings that really fit our neighborhood's context, and allow more density, especially in commercial districts, to really grow the city's taxable value. The table here is the table that you see in the zoning code, and this has a variety of changes from what we had in the past. Many times there was kind of redundant regulations that had the same impact, and we kind of simplified those. We also had some regulations that can be very difficult for people to understand and calculate, such as floor area ratio. So for commercial districts, we're now eliminating that requirement and switching to just the height requirement to kind of regulate the size. We also have a variety of changes to our setbacks to kind of promote more close to the street types of structures. One of our last key changes is to modernize our parking regulations. We are shifting from a minimum-based to a maximum-based parking code. The existing code is minimum-based, so that means that we have a number of parking spaces that a business must have at least that many. So we're essentially requiring extra waste of space. We're saying you must have more spaces than you would need at your peak time. So we'll be switching to a maximum-based code, which will prevent us from really filling our land with this unproductive, empty parking space, which also discourages development by increasing our cost of developers and diminishing our taxable value of land. We'll also be adding a very small bike parking requirement section. The intent of this is to really just codify a practice we already have of requiring some sort of bike accommodations when we're reviewing site plans. Now getting into the zoning map. The main change to the zoning map is to be consolidating our zoning districts. Right now we have 9 residential districts. Many of these have very limited applications in the city. Maybe only a few dozen properties are zoned RE, for example. we also have several of these districts sharing very similar regulations, very similar uses that are allowed there. So we're going to be consolidating these to make things more simple, more clear for our residents. We're also going to be combining the overlay districts into a single district because these are always an individualized kind of case. So it makes most sense to just have a single district to cover overlay districts. So here is the proposed zoning map. You'll notice that there's not any changes other than those consolidations. You'll also notice that there are some changes from other ordinances that have been now reflected in this map compared to the map that we had previously. So in summary, back in January, we originally introduced this to the Safety and Development Committee and our Planning Commission. In early February, the Safety and Development Committee held a productive meeting where we discussed a lot of the details in depth. Afterwards, an online survey was released to the public, and a separate survey was released to Common Council members. In late February, Plan Commission voted on both the ordinance and the map, and they recommend adoption for both. And then today is the public hearing Common Council vote. We have published via Class 2 notice. Staff recommends adoption for both the ordinance and the map, and there have been no objections to date. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roeder. Are there any questions regarding this from any of the members of the Common Council?
Alderman Lysick?
Alderwoman Grisham, pardon me.
Grisham, that's okay. Zach, thank you for the presentation. I just had a question. Can you clarify a bit more on the home business regulations? When we had discussed it prior, I thought there was going to be a list of permitted businesses for in-home business versus home office.
Yes, so we, I think after we talked last, we released that survey to the Common Council members. And at that point, we kind of clarified what those were. And we had more votes in favor of this version than in favor of a sort of a use-based version. So we wanted to proceed with looking at the regulations for how is a business going to impact the neighborhood and its residential character versus identifying specific businesses, which can could lead to some complications with exactly how our business is changing over time, what types of things can actually be allowed. So this list here shows the set of 8 regulations that we're going to have that will govern how a home business, how that would be allowed or not in the
Okay, thank you. I just want to reiterate to the council and put on record that one of my concerns was businesses that are in brick and mortars as of now, such as nail salons, hair salons, dog groomers. We are all regulated and have to follow the compliances of all 5 departments of occupancy and inspection. And if we're allowing this in the home, and I know that you guys have the fortitude to decide what businesses are approved or not, that is concerning to me. Because, as I said, brick and mortars have to go through that process and inspections. And I think if that is going to be permitted, that you take that into consideration. Thank you.
Are there any other questions from members of the council?
Alderperson Lysick.
Alderman Weigel.
Zach, I know we've had lots of conversations on this, but this question just struck me about small restaurants being classified now as a permitted use. What about their hours of operation? So are we putting a limit at it? If it says, say, if they want to be open 24 hours a day, then it becomes the new conditional or special use? Is there a time of day restriction on these permitted uses?
Yeah, thank you, Alderman Weigel. So we would not have a specific regulation for that in the zoning code. However, the business occupancy applications and that permitting process would still kind of govern their hours of operation. So that could still be something that the Planning and Zoning Office has some say over in our approval of the hours of operation. One thing that we're looking into is drafting kind of an internal set of design and review standards, and that could be something that would be added so that we are, have it in our adopted language that this is something that we would be considering during our review process of things like occupancy applications. That if a restaurant is going to be open 24 hours or something, then we would be able to maybe take that to Planning Commission or have some sort of other influence in that kind of decision.
So you say that's something we're going to add to the process? So I guess I'm expecting it's possible that this new zoning ordinance passes tonight, and if someone came in tomorrow or after the mayor or acting mayor signs it and it's published and So we're going to expect somebody in the zoning office to look at it and decide whether that restaurant at a certain location is allowed to be open 24/7?
Yes, so in the occupancy permit application right now, we have, the planning and zoning office has a review.
Yeah,
as
they have
part
to
of
put
that.
their hours up, their plan, essentially their business plan in the
Yeah,
code.
that's correct.
But I guess I'd like to see a little more oversight on that with maybe
Okay.
some sort of rule. If they want to be open past 10 PM, then at least it triggers further discussion. And I guess this would probably apply to any of these permitted use businesses. That's correct, right?
Yeah, that's correct. We would review the hours of operation for every business as they go through that occupancy permit application.
I understand a shoe store might not want to stay open till 2 AM, but I remember a day when restaurants used to do very good after bar close.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Alderman Haas.
Thank you. Yeah, so Zach, going to the, making multifamily units and duplexes a permitted use in the RA3 district. My question for you is I want to make sure I have this right. Those would become permitted uses only in the RA3 district, not all residential districts? Am I correct in saying that?
So you're correct in saying that 2-unit dwellings would be allowed in the RA3 district. This change would not apply to 3-unit dwellings, 4-unit dwellings, or 5 or more unit dwellings. Just only 2-unit dwellings would also be allowed in the RA3 district right now with this change. But there would not, those multifamily housing other than the 2-unit dwellings would not be allowed in RA3 with this change.
Okay.
Yep. And it does not apply to RA1 and RA2 would still only be 1-unit dwellings as a permitted use, and then 2-unit dwellings would continue to be a limited use next to commercial properties, as it was in the past.
Next to commercial properties as it was in the past. Okay, thank you for that.
Yep.
Alderman Lysick.
Alderwoman Grisham.
Zach, just a follow-up back on the home business. What type of guidelines is it set for traffic area, or the amount of clients that can go to a home business? Is there a set standard?
Yes, so in, sorry, were you asking me or Alderman Lysick? Me? No, okay.
Yes.
So in our standards that we're going to be adopting with this, we would have a regulation that no more than one client can be on the premises at any given time, and that sales or services can only be conducted by appointment only. So those would be the two regulations that are guiding it. So nobody could just come to the site without an appointment. You'd have to have an appointment, and then there can't be multiple clients on the site at the same time. Those are the kind of two key regulations about the number of people and the amount of traffic that it'll be generating.
So in essence, there's no change from what it was before. I believe that was the same.
That's the same. And then I also just want to point out that there's no additional vehicles from the owner of the property can be allowed other than what's already legally parked there. So they won't have additional, I guess commercial vehicles being parked on the lot essentially. It has to just be what's permitted already.
Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Lysick.
Alderwoman Keene.
Zach, so with the one client on premise, obviously we have in here, you can't have it between 10 PM and 6 AM. It's starting at 6 AM, if it's a hair salon, you could book someone every single hour on the hour and have people coming in and out all the way from 6 AM to really 9 PM, causing however many hours that adds up to, how many people parking and visiting in one day then, correct?
Yes, that's correct. And it is, that time period is based on the nuisance kind of time period for residential districts. But that's correct. Yeah.
Are there any other questions from council members?
Mr. President?
Alderwoman Ranky.
Okay, under the dwelling unit, accessory dwelling unit, would a storage unit qualify under the accessory units?
No, a storage unit would not qualify.
Storage unit has no
No.
rules?
So there are rules about storage units, and on a residential property, we allow an accessory building, like a shed, for example. We have some set of regulations about that, the size it can be, where it can be located on the property, and that will remain the same in this update of the code. There won't be any changes to that part of it. So that would still be the same, what types of accessory storage would be allowed at a property.
I see. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Mr. President,
Alderman Haas.
well, that leads to a question for me, Zach. All right, so in the past, we've always allowed up to 3 in your backyard, that being a shed, a gazebo, and what's the third type of thing?
A garage, I
A
believe.
garage, oh, of course, a garage,
Yeah.
thank you. You can have up to 3. Okay, now an accessory dwelling unit, that's something different. Does that mean you can have the shed, gazebo, and garage and an accessory dwelling unit for a total of 4 then?
Yeah, that's a good question. So in the past, we had I guess the number of them wasn't specifically regulated. However, the size was for each, and there is also a lot coverage requirement, so that you can't have typically more than 40% of a property cannot have building on it. In the RB district, that's going to be 60%, and in the RA3, it'll be 50. So there's these kind of different numbers, but that lot coverage requirement is the main thing governing this. So the amount of built space is limited on properties. And then each type of a garage, an accessory dwelling unit, and an accessory building, they also all have their own individual size requirements. So I believe accessory building is, I think, 150 square feet for other types of accessory buildings. So you could have 2 small sheds that are maybe 75 square feet each, but you can't have more than 150 square feet total of that kind of a building. So those are the kind of regulations that govern that still.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Are there any further questions from the council? Seeing none, any members of the public that would like to speak to this issue, please take the microphone, state your name and address, and make your comments to the council, please. Seeing none, we'll close these 2 public hearings and move on to item number 3. If the clerk would read the notice of that hearing.
Resolution relative to the determination of an application for a special use permit to establish a school within a portion of the existing building located at 2500 South 68th Street.
Mr. Scheer from our planning department will address this hearing.
Thank you, President Lysak. Trinity School is an existing church within our city at 68th and Arthur, just south of the West Dallas, West Milwaukee Recreation Department, their new facility. And Trinity Church has been around for probably since about the 1940s. And the picture up here is an aerial image from Milwaukee County Land Survey from about 1951. And there's a few more slides that we're going to get into here where you can see the progression over time. But so Trinity Church and School started out in the 1950s with a Sunday school offering, and then as time went on in the 70s, they actually offered kindergarten and maybe some basic elementary schools. Their proposal here tonight is to actually reintroduce the school back to the site. The previous school, kindergarten and elementary school, has since ceased, and it's been a number of years, I think since like 2011, since they had last offered a school. So they're here this evening requesting permission to start a small high school, be a Lutheran offering within the existing church and school facility. Proposed high school for about 10 persons, and you can see the most current aerial view here with the building facing 68th Street, and then there is a green space with a small garage behind to the east. So schools are considered special uses within our zoning ordinance, and this is just a basic layout of the area within the building itself of where the school, Sunday school as well as an elementary school used to be, and where they were going to reintroduce the high school within the building. So roughly about 6,500 square feet on both the ground floor and the first level. This is the view from this is a view from Arthur Street looking to the south. And this door here and corridor into the building is here approximately. The church would still remain in service as well as the hall area. The school is really just being reintroduced to the property. So 10 students to start, and they hope to grow to up to 50 students. Again, it's not going to be a large format type of high school like Central High School or Nathan Hale. This is a much smaller offering, and they're not proposing any alterations at this time to the building whatsoever. They are proposing a small refuse enclosure behind the building and some fence repairs to that playground, or actually the green space behind the building. They are not going to be offering busing. Students will be dropped off, or ones that are old enough and have a driver's license will drive to the site and park on City Street. They hope to open, I should have mentioned, they hope to open in the fall of 2023. So it's not this fall, but the fall of 2023. So it's a ways out, but they're doing their due diligence, and they want to get their use before the city for consideration. And this just is an overlay of the rough area of those classrooms within the building, looking at the bird's eye view. So Planning Commission has reviewed this on February 23rd, and they've recommended approval. There were a couple recommendations which the church is addressing in terms of refuse enclosure and fence repairs along that alley behind the building. We have received no complaints to date, and staff is recommending approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scheer. Are there any questions from members of the Common Council?
Mr. President,
Alderperson Ranky.
by looking at the slides or whatever, is there an area set aside for outdoor activities like playground?
Well, yeah, they do have a green space behind the building for, I guess an outdoor pursuits, to maybe sit outside, have a cup of coffee or a soft drink, maybe enjoy your lunch on a nicer day. But the West Dallas, West Milwaukee's school district, the rec department across the street, will actually be partnering with Trinity to offer, indoor use of their, basketball court, running track, walking track for, more of the recreational phy-ed types of things.
So you would use their area?
Trinity would have an agreement with the rec department to utilize the new facility just to the north. Yeah.
What age students are they considering?
High school, freshmen through senior year, so probably the 14 to 15 year up to 17 years old.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from members of the council? Hearing none. Anybody from the audience can step up to the microphone, state your name and address. Excuse me. Comment on this matter. Hearing none, we'll close this public hearing and move on to public hearing number 4.
Resolution relative to the determination of an application for a special use permit to establish a mixed use, an existing residential duplex property located at 1416/18 South 81st Street.
Mr. Scheer?
Thank you, President Lysick. So this is an existing duplex property owned by Paul and Christine Budiak, who also own Paulie's Pub immediately to the north of this property. The Paulie's Pub property, as well as this duplex property, are zoned C2 neighborhood commercial, and the applicants intend to use this separate property. So they're separated properties, the pub being one property and the duplex being another. They intend to use the duplex property in a manner that's accessory or connected to the pub property for a tent and a stage, for live music acts. During the summer, they often have outdoor events, bands that come and perform for an audience. The pub property also has is a licensed premise as a tavern, and they are actually applying this evening as well for an outdoor extension of premise of their Class B license. So they have the Paulie's Pub property, which is the bar, as well as the outdoor extension of premise, and then the stage and the tent would be on the duplex property. So from a zoning standpoint, they're looking to comply with the zoning, and that's the term mixed use, to have an accessory tent and stage structure which truly serves the bar property, but is located on a residential duplex property, which happens to be zoned commercial. So this is an overview of, aerial view of the proposal. You've got the Pauley's Pub property in the upper portion right along Greenfield Avenue. And then along 81st Street, you've got the duplex just immediately south of Pauley's Pub, and the tent and the stage in blue, the rough location between the duplex and the existing garage on the site. There are other options, of course, which have been explored with the applicant and alders of the district, I guess ranging from easy to more difficult, I guess, or costly. But in terms of one option would be to simply relocate the tent and stage to the licensed premise property of Pauley's Pub. Option B would be what we're here tonight proposing, is the special use process. And option C would be a little bit more invasive, of tearing down the duplex and then combining the two properties into one, thereby making a larger licensed premise for Pauley's Pub. So the applicant is pursuing option B with a special use, and the proposed schedule that's been submitted to the city indicates roughly about 30 dates. It may be hard to see here, but there are some that are highlighted in yellow, and those are not going to be, they're not going to have an outdoor band on those nights. So it's really 30 events, and the stronger, more bolded circles here are Mondays, Memorial Day, 4th of July, and then Labor Day events. But otherwise, everything is Friday, Saturday, or Sunday type of event. Just a recap of what was the licensing from last year. In 2021, the council had approved the license between May and September, and granted basically 4 weekly events between 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. The applicant actually volunteered and actually performed less than that with 3 events per week. And the council had actually, through the licensing process, imposed sound level measurements of equal to or under 100 decibels at 100 feet away. The health department had tested that on occasion, and I don't believe that there were excess sound readings of those events where they were measured. And then there were also 3 porta potties on site, one of which was accessible with a hand wash station. There have been some site improvements since last year. This is an older picture on the bottom, but the garage has been resided. There has been a new fence installed, which starts more or less behind that garage and then runs south to the field trip property. And then they are planning the installation of, the tent and stage in the duplex property. So Plan Commission has recommended approval at the last meeting. It does require a common council public hearing as a special use. The Plan Commission had indicated in their recommendation that the special use would be considered, or is recommended to be considered on an annual basis. So in other words, every year, the pub would have to come in and request zoning approval through a special use process. And then certainly, as with any licensed premise, you'd have to apply for the appropriate licensing or an entertainment license for the use, especially with the bar. And then that can be regulated with sound hours and in terms of the term of the season. So, the real question before council this evening, is if whether or not you're, interested in pursuing extending an entertainment or public entertainment type of license or permission from the bar property to a duplex property, if so or if not. But that's the true question that's before us. There are other options if that's not the case. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, how would our new zoning ordinance affect this application?
Sure. So with duplexes are considered limited uses within our new zoning ordinance in the C2 district. And basically what that means, as long as it's on a lot that's platted and recorded prior to the adoption of the the zoning ordinance, it would be allowed. So this, the duplex property right now is just considered a limited use. It's been there for many years. There wouldn't be any issue with the duplex. However, putting up a tent and a stage on that property would not be allowed as an accessory use for the duplex property. That would require the text of the ordinance to be changed, which I guess that's just not the way we've structured this, the proposed zoning ordinance that Zach had presented previously. So
So if I understand this correctly, if the council ended up adopting this resolution tonight, and Mr. Pauly came back next year and asked for the same thing, it would not be permitted.
that's correct. That's
Okay,
correct.
thank you.
yeah.
Any
Mr.
questions from the council members?
Yeah, Mr. President.
Alderman Haas.
Steve, I'd like you to explain the bottom part of this slide. Notice of hearing was mailed to 33 properties, all within a 200-foot radius. Am I correct with that?
That's correct, yes.
And so all those people were aware of this hearing here tonight?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Council President.
Alderman Weigel.
Steve, could you go back to that time, the couple slides back where you had the times, you had the concert dates listed and the
Sure.
times?
All right.
Now, the purpose of this hearing right now is about the zoning change. The management of any dates or times would be restricted via the licensing of the premises extension, correct?
Correct, right.
Okay. So that time management isn't part of this conversation right here, but that's going to be a question for the License and Health Committee.
Correct, yeah. So I did sort of blend a little bit of zoning along with licensing, but I kind of wanted to give the overall
No, I understand.
comprehensive look,
Yeah.
given the items on council tonight.
I just wanted to make sure that we understood. And honestly, I mean, we had a couple of neighbors upset at the beginning. I think last year went very well for the most part. It seems like it wraps up. I'm trying to read that. I don't think my glasses are going to help. Is it the latest it goes to is till 10 p.m.?
Yes, I think I've got that in a, yeah, 10 p.m. So Fridays 6 p.m. to, I'm sorry, Fridays 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., Saturdays 4 to 8 p.m., Sundays 3 to 7 p.m., and then Monday holidays 3 to 7 p.m.
Okay. And I will say this, that the Boudiaks run a very good establishment there. I'm out in the neighborhood weekend mornings quite often, year-round, and I will say that they do a very good job of keeping their property clean, if that helps. Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the common council? If not, any members of the public that would like to address this issue, please take the podium and state your name and address. Seeing none, we'll move on to the next public hearing number 5.
Resolution to adopt the schedule of proposed assessments for improvement of South 91st Street from West Arthur Place to West Harrison Avenue, West Virgo Terrace from 99th Street to east of South 99th Street, West Hayes Avenue from Green Links Drive to East End, and West Orchard Street from South 93rd Street to South 95th Street by minor asphalt resurfacing.
Mr. Daniels.
All right, thank you, Alderman Lysak. All right, yes, this is the public hearing for Vigo, 91st Street, Hayes, and Orchard. Oops, this is tricky. Okay, here's the first street, Vigo Terrace, just the dead end from 99th Street to the east. Here's some pictures from Vigo Terrace. The pavement, it was installed in 1964. It's 58 years old. That is astoundingly old. That's it's got to be one of the oldest asphalt pavements in the city. I quite frankly didn't know they lasted that long. So that's a very long time for that pavement to have lasted. The pavement is very cracked. It's impossible to do maintenance on something that's this cracked. So that's Vigo. Here is 91st Street from Arthur to Harrison. This pavement is in horrible condition. It was paved in 1981, so it's 41 years old, which is also a very long time for an asphalt pavement to last. The next street is Hayes Avenue from Green Links to the east. This was installed in 1971, and then the cul-de-sac in the end was installed in 1978, so that also is 44 to 51 years old. Badly cracked. That is far longer than you would expect an asphalt pavement to last, which is 25 to 30 years. And then the last street is Orchard Street from 93rd to 95th. That was installed in 1987, 1988, so that is 34 to 35 years old, which is a little more normal, but still badly potholed and cracked as well. So we're not going to be replacing the curb and gutter. We would just be repairing any curb and gutter that wasn't draining or something. We would replace a new asphalt surface, take out the old surface, put in a new asphalt surface. There would be some minor repairs to underground utilities, manholes or valves or something. We're not relaying a lot of pipe. If there's sidewalk that needs to be replaced, we would take care of a bump or a crack or something like that. The intention is to have traffic in and out for almost the whole time. You'd have to be driving in on gravel for part of the time, but we would ramp up the driveways and try and get people into their driveways for almost the whole time, except for the day when it looks like this and they're actually paving. You would have to park on a neighboring street so they could put this asphalt in. But for most of the time, while they're working on the curb and the pavement, you should be able to get into your driveway at night. And this is what the new road would look like, a new asphalt pavement. Curb would be repaired as needed, sidewalk would be repaired, there's a little slab that's been repaired. New black surface. So the cost of the project is $635,000 for the pavement, $57,000 for sanitary sewer. Like I said, just some minor manhole adjustments. Storm sewer, $179,000. Just a little bit of water main adjustments, so $888,000 for all 4 streets together. This is where the funding is coming from. The special assessments are totaling for all 4 streets $236,000, so that's about 27%. The general property tax is paying 45%. Then the water utility is just paying for the small amount of water utility work, 2%. The storm sewer fund is paying for the storm sewer work, which is a citywide fee, as is the water utility. And then the sanitary sewer fund, which is a citywide fee, would be paying for 6%. Here's a typical assessment for a 40-foot lot. The assessment rate is $42.93 for everybody. That comes to $1,717. It's important to point out that the bills would not be mailed out until March of 2023, not 2022, but 2023. And if you choose one of our payment plans, you actually wouldn't get your first installment until December of 2023, so that's about 21 months from now, almost 2 years from now. Like I said, there are options. You could pay it off as a lump sum, or you could go on the 5-year plan or the 10-year plan. There is a 4% interest charge. The reason being is that we borrow the funds to pay for this, and the city is merely passing along the interest that we are paying to the municipal bondholders. We're not making a profit off of that interest. But if you chose the 10-year plan for this scenario here, it would only be $240 for the whole year, or about $20 a month. And then the 10th year would be $179 for the whole year, or about $15 per month. I just want to point out there are some larger lots on Hayes and on Vigo. Hayes has lots, I think, as large as 100 feet. Vigo Terrace has 60-foot lots. Using our front footage method, it does account for that. So the city does have to pay more to have a longer pavement and a longer water main and a longer sanitary sewer for a large lot to service a large lot. So it's 2 to 3 times more than the rest of the city. So the special assessments based on front footage are ensuring that the people on a 30-foot lot aren't paying more than their fair share, and the people on a 60 to 100-foot lot aren't paying less than their fair share. So it's all, you get what you pay for. If you want to have a large lot, it does cost the city more to service that large lot. Why do we even special assess? We have been doing it for at least 110 years. In the past, the residents actually paid 100% of the cost of the street, but like I said, in this case, it's only 27%. The assessment rate of $42.93 is the same for anyone in the city, any of these 4 streets or any other street. It doesn't matter how high the traffic volumes are or how high the actual bid prices are. You will pay $42.93, just like everybody else in the city. Everyone's treated equally. And this method of special assessments has been around for over 100 years. It is in state law. It has been held up. It has been held up as a fair method in hundreds of court cases in the state. So it has stood the test of time. Special assessments are also the only way to ensure that tax-exempt schools, churches, charities, hospitals, county parks all pay their fair share. No one is exempt from special assessments, even though there are 430 properties in the city that don't pay any property taxes. Those are all the colored lots that you see here. And then businesses and corporations pay a higher rate. I don't believe there are any, there might be 1 or 2 on these streets, but they would be paying $53 to $64 per foot because they have more traffic. So here's kind of the tentative schedule. We would hope to start advertising for bids on April 22nd. We would hope to open the bids on May 11th. The city doesn't get to pick the contractor. It will be the low bidder according to state law. Then the council would award it about May 17th. And assuming there's no utility work, we could get underway in June. There are 4 streets. They won't probably all occur at the same time. They'll probably be spaced out. So the contractor will get to decide a little bit what order they go in, and we'll let you know which street is starting first. But we would hope that all 4 streets would be done by September. And the best way to find out the schedule and when things are happening is to sign up for our construction and progress reports, which is on our website. It's about the 10th one down. We send out a weekly email with progress and schedule and who to call and who the contractor is and all that information that you can reference there. So that is the best way to find out what's happening on your project. And with that, I'll entertain any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Are there any questions from members of the council?
President,
Alderman Rowe.
Pete, I don't think you have the answer, but I'll ask it anyways. What is the price of oil going to have to do with this project?
It could raise the price of asphalt.
Everybody's just locked in on their
Yeah,
assessment.
$42.93. It won't change your assessment, but it will cost the city more if based on the bid prices. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the council? Not, are there any members of the audience that would like to speak to this issue? Please take the podium, state your name and address.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Gregory Schmidt. I live on Hayes Avenue. Hi, Pete.
Hello.
Thanks. So I had some similar questions about cost overruns and prices. So with the current economic situation with oil and other factors, with your estimate and the actual bid prices, my question was probably answered. Is that going to be coming on our special assessments?
No.
Any changes?
No, you are locked in at $42.93 per foot,
Well, that's
guaranteed.
good. So then the other issues, then, the cost won't affect us, but may the city. Knowing my street, it appears there's some subgrade issues. There may be issues of undercuts, more materials. We can see the storm sewer profile through the pavement. There may be, I don't know what's planned there, but there could be some significant changes to that storm sewer lines or subgrade issues.
We will be beefing up the subgrade. I guess we're not going to completely, since it's just a resurface. We're not going to, we're not starting from scratch. We're keeping the curb, so we are going to, there's probably not a lot of gravel left under there. I mean, given the age and how they used to do things. We will be beefing up the gravel underneath the street. So we will be undercutting a little bit and putting some gravel in and probably having geotests, test the asphalt. So.
Very good. I'm very concerned about high quality materials
Right.
and making sure that works well. Then my last question would be the scheduling. So liquidated damages, I know historically the city hasn't used that, but there have been some serious
Yes.
delays.
We will have we'll have a deadline we'll have a number of working days for each of the 4. It'll probably take less than a month to do each one of the 4. And we haven't finished designing them yet, but I mean, we will have a working day deadline. Now, once they start, they'll have 25 days to finish Hayes Avenue. Once they start Vigo, they'll have 25 days to finish Vigo. So each one will have its own deadline once they start. If we give them the flexibility of working between June and September, we get a better price. So we're not, dictating it has to be done from June 15th through July 15th. But once we know what their schedule is, we will send you a letter and let you know. But we're trying to be a little bit flexible so that they can work it into their schedule, and that always reduces the price when we're somewhat flexible. So, and I don't know the order. We do want to maybe put off Orchard Street until the last, but I guess I don't have a strong opinion about the other 3 if they want to do them in a certain order. I don't know of any reason why we wouldn't allow that, just so that once they start a street, they'll have 25 days and they'll be done, and there'll be a penalty. There'll be a liquidated damage at the end of that 25 days or whatever.
Good. And then my last comment, there are several houses that there's some pumps drain and come out over the curb and gutter and spread into the pavement. So 2 issues. One, it's just kind of a nuisance, and in the wintertime it freezes and makes a lot of ice. But also that water gets into the pavement. We know that's one of the major reasons for pavement failures and subgrade distress. So is there any thought of trying to minimize that or pipe some pump discharges into the storm sewer?
We looked at, I don't off the top of my head know how much storm sewer is out there, but we did think about putting in storm sewer. That is a lot more money. And since we're not taking the curb out, you'd have to tunnel under the curb. And so it was kind of problematic. I guess given the size of the lots on Hayes particular, MMSD would strongly encourage you to put that water on your grass somewhere. And we are going to actually have a program later this year to do rain gardens or something like that that the MMSD would pay for. So I guess that would be our preferred option rather than putting in more storm sewer, especially given the size of those lots. So no, we weren't planning to put in a bunch more sewer on this type of a project.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, sir, for your comments.
Good evening, I'm Michael Robinson. I live at 12005 West Hayes. So several concerns with this project, just overwhelming with the cost seeming really high for what is titled as minor resurfacing. We have, trying to speak for other peoples on my road, where we have retired persons that live on our road that are probably on a fixed income, and then we're talking about doing this in an economy during a pandemic where money for everything is getting stretched really thin for a lot of people. So special assessments for road projects in surrounding communities, whether it's New Berlin, or Elm Grove, Brookfield, using special assessment money is not common practice in surrounding communities, so using it here seems inappropriate. Other concerns that I have are if we're getting bids from several companies, if the figuring out the total cost of the project depending on the bidder hasn't been set, yet having a fixed price for the landowners, if the city finds itself saving money by going with a low bidder and the landowners are paying a fixed price for that, if the city saves money on this project, does that go back to, do the landowners get money back on that? Further, if we're waiting 30 plus years, as you've described in some of these roads, since it's been repaved, some of these are 30, 40 more years old, and we've been waiting that long between resurfacing, why has the city not planned for this ahead of time and saved tax money in budgeting year after year after year to go towards these types of projects instead of throwing it all at the landowners all at once, all in 1 year. Further, the city of West Dallas received approximately $2.6 million from the Wisconsin State General Transportation Aid Fund in 2021, and already approximately $641,000 in 2022 from the state of Wisconsin for road surface projects. I didn't see any of that in the budget breakdown for this project. I also didn't see any money that's given to the city of West Dallas from the Wisconsin Local Roads Improvement Program under state chapter Transportation 206 in the budgeting breakdown for this project as well. So those are the issues I have. If you need me to break those down one by one for you to address them, I can.
Yeah, that was a lot. I'll start with the end. The LRIP, the Local Road Improvement Program, we do get a small amount of money. Whenever we get federal or
$641,000 for this year alone, or
yeah,
it's only March, and the city's already received $641,000 from the state. So that's not a small amount of money.
we always charge the same though. You know, national, we got a large amount of money from the feds. The residents always pay the same. Everyone is treated equally. It doesn't matter if there's federal funding. In this case, 27% is all that the residents are paying. So there's no danger of, you know, we're not going to make a profit. If that were to ever happen, we would refund money. You know, we're not going to make a profit off of the special assessment. But in this case, we're only taking in 27% of the cost for the special assessment. In the old days, we did collect 100%, and we would have given a refund if, you know, if the bids came in low. But even on when we get federal money, you know, we've never really been in danger of making a profit off, if that's what you're saying.
No, my point was in your cost breakdown, you didn't address the monies that the state or the city receives from the state. There was no in your pie chart, there was nothing from the General State Transportation Aid, and there was nothing from the Wisconsin Local Roads Improvement Program in there that would help us prevent from having to do a special assessment that none of the surrounding communities do.
Well, we're trying to treat everyone equally. So I mean, we don't want to have some projects that are special assessed and some that aren't. And like I said, we've been doing it for 100 years. So every single property in the city is paid at least once, twice, 3 times, 4 times.
Doing something just because you've always done it that way doesn't always make it right.
That's how we've funded, that's how we've funded streets in our city. The ARPA money from the feds, we are spending on sewer and water. We have to address all the lead services, and so we are spending that on a different kind of infrastructure. But what were the other questions, I guess? Most of the big cities in Wisconsin do special assess. It's the smaller ones like New Berlin and, you know, Brookfield that do not. I think, you know, any city that's over 50,000 usually has some sort of special assessment, or at least they used to. Maybe a lot of them are drifting to the wheel tax now, but yeah, you know, Milwaukee does, Wauwatosa, Waukesha, you know, Wausau, all the bigger medium-sized cities, La Crosse, Eau Claire, Green Bay, they all do, Racine, Kenosha, they all special assess as well. So it's usually the bigger cities that are using special assessments. It is very common in the larger cities, not so much in the smaller cities, yes.
Okay. The last part I'd like the council to just think about is if we do allow this project to go forward at the prices that it's currently recommending, that if we do allow to amortize it over many years in property taxes, to strike the interest rate, that just be kind to the taxpayers in a poor economy. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council on this matter? If not, we will close this public hearing and move on to public hearing number 6.
Report of CDBG COVID 1, 2, and 3 funds.
Mr. Schlotz from our Development Department will report on this hearing.
Mr. Chairman, We are fulfilling a federal requirement tonight to have what's going on here? A hearing on the COVID money that we received. We received CDBG CV1, $762,000, and we have spent up to 300-some thousand with a balance of $424,000 to date. Of CDBG CV2, which is an award that came from the state, we have $323,847. This is awarded in August, but it's encumbered to date of $220,000. The loans just haven't closed yet. And we have CDBG CV3 funds, which has expended pretty much their entire balance. The funds of CDBG CV1 were allocated to various programs, whether it was with the health department, food meal delivery, etc. And you can see the balances on those particular activities. The achievements that were obtained through rent assistance, we helped 78 individuals with rent assistance during the pandemic with an average rent assistance of $1,300. We had 27 applications for businesses that received wanted assistance with round 1 of our Restart program, and 11 businesses that received a grant. Average grant was $5,000. In round 2, we had 23 applications, and 17 businesses were assisted, and average grant was around $5,000. In round 3, we did 13 businesses were assisted, and an average grant of $4,045. And then WIBIC also participated and provided assistance to businesses as well for microenterprises, and 11 businesses were assisted in that manner. We have purchased a software for the health department under the health awareness program, but we had to cancel the food meal delivery program as per guidance from HUD. As I mentioned, CDBG 2 funds were awarded from the state. Nothing has been drawn yet, but 2 loans are set to close here within the coming weeks. And of CDBG C funds, and this allocation came from HUD, and you can see here we have expended pretty much all the money. There's a $5 balance left, and a total of 41 businesses under the city program were assisted, or applications. 33 applications were funded. Average grant was $14,389. And then with the WIBIC program, we had 11 funded, average grant of $5,000. Tonight, we're just getting any input if there are anything from the council on the future use of funds, but wanted to provide an update on the current balances. Gladly answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Slash. Are there any questions from members of the council? Hearing none, is there anyone in the audience that would like to address this public hearing?
Excuse me.
If not, we will close public hearing number 6. Next item on the agenda is citizen participation. The council sets aside 30 minutes each meeting, which the public can address the council on any topic they desire. You must sign in at the podium, state your name and address, and limit your comments to one statement of no more than 5 minutes. And the council cannot take any action on topics raised by the speakers or will not discuss topics with the speakers, as this would be in violation of state open meeting laws. If there's anyone that would like to address the council on any subject, please take the podium.
Good evening. My name is Noah Lee. I live at 3620 South Loretta Lane in New Berlin. I'm the president of the school board for the West Dallas West Milwaukee School District, and I'm here this evening to speak about the proposed referendum that will be on the ballot April 5th. By now, I would expect that all council members would be aware of the referendum and the extensive process that the district has undergone, bringing us to the decision to ask the community for support. However, social media posts and comments lead me to believe that there are still misconceptions among constituents and some common council members alike. So briefly, the district is asking the community to support a referendum that would combine West Allis Central and Nathan Hale High Schools into one combined school that would be located at the Nathan Hale site. The total being asked for is $149.8 million, which would mean an increase of the school district's portion of property taxes of $119 per year for a home valued at $100,000 or $238 per year for a home valued at $200,000. with the bond term being 25 years. The district underwent a 2-year study of all of the buildings and looked at long-term enrollment trends, utilizing experts in architecture, construction, and population projections, and created a 40-member Facilities Advisory Committee consisting of board members, teachers, parents, and community members, which provided recommended next steps. The district then distributed a community-wide survey asking for feedback on a plan to begin the process of right-sizing our district, and used that feedback to modify the plan further before finalizing the referendum question that is on the ballot. Additionally, there are 3 community information sessions left that are open to the public to be able to learn about the referendum. The next one will be tomorrow at 6 p.m. at Nathan Hale High School. And then another one will be on March 31st at 6 p.m., and this will be via Zoom with links available via the district website. And the last one will be held on April 2nd at 10 a.m. at West Milwaukee Intermediate School. In addition, you can find information about the referendum by going to the district website, where a frequently asked questions section can be found. You can also submit questions that you cannot find an answer for directly to the email address, which is wawmfacilityplanning@wawmsd.org. An informational mailer has also been sent to every household in the district, and another one will be sent the last week of March. Whether you are for or against the referendum, I just want to make sure that each voter is an informed voter. I would ask the Common Council members to help prevent the spread of misinformation about the referendum by directing people to the information sources I've mentioned previously, or inquiries can be sent directly to me, and I'd be happy to help in any way that I can. The district understands and appreciates that this is not a small ask of our community, but due to the age of our buildings, projected enrollment, and the fiscal challenges ahead, this is a needed step to start the process of updating and right-sizing our district so we are better positioned educationally and fiscally for many years to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council? Anyone else who would like to address the council on any item? Sir?
Hi, my name's Yos Patel. Some of the application for a Class A full liquor license, I got a notice to appear.
Sign in, put your name and address, please.
I already did, sir.
Oh, you did? Thank you.
Yeah, I thought it was a sign-in
Thank you.
sheet, so I did it in the beginning.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, so I submitted a Class A full liquor license application. I got a notice to appear today.
Oh, that'll be during recess in room 128, down
Okay.
just before you come in. During recess, the License and Health Committee will be meeting then.
Sounds
It'll
good.
just be in a little while.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you. Anyone else care to address the council? If not, we'll move on to item F on your agenda. This is the announcement of recess meetings of standing committees. They are as printed in your agenda with the room numbers the committees will be meeting in. Item G is the mayor's report. We have none. Item H, alderperson's report. Are there any reports from the alder people?
Mr. President,
Alderman Haas.
I move for approval of the minutes of March 1st, 2022.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item J, standing committee reports, License and Health Committee, which is chaired by Alderwoman Grisham.
President Lysick, I move to adopt the standing committee report for license and health.
Is there any comments or questions on the committee report?
Mr. President?
City Clerk Grisham.
No, I don't want that.
I
Item
almost
number,
promoted you.
item number 8 is not ready to be granted, but item 9 is.
Okay, well, thank you for the clarification. So with that correction,
So we'll be holding
we will
item 8
hold 8
and we'll vote on item 9.
and vote on item 9.
Which is for approval. Any
Correct.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item K, items not referred to the committee's consent agenda.
Mr. President,
Alderman Haas.
I move that we suspend the rules and approve the consent agenda as printed within the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for approval of the consent agenda. Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderperson Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Keen. Berenke.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Stefanski.
Aye.
Tenorio.
Aye.
8 in favor, 1 excused.
Motion carries. Alderman Haas.
I move that we go into recess.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are in recess.
Coming up soon.
Don't be sorry.
Call the Public Works meeting to order. We will take item 24 first, Resolution 2022-0122. This was part of the public hearing tonight. Resolution to adopt a schedule of proposed assessments for improvement of South 91st from Arthur Place to West Harrison Avenue, West Vigo Terrace from South 99th to east of South 99th, West Hayes Avenue from Green Links Drive to East End, and West Orchard Street from South 93rd to South 95th by minor asphalt resurfacing.
Move to approve.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the matter carries. Item 25, Resolution 2022-0123, final resolution authorizing public improvement by minor asphalt resurfacing in South 91st from West Arthur Place to West Harrison.
Move to approve.
Thank you.
I figured you want to read all that.
Wasn't quite sure if you want to read all of it.
I got all night.
If not, I'm all ready to approve.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 26, Resolution 2022-0137, resolution to approve bid of Will Surge Electric Incorporated to furnish and install a new standby generator at the West Dallas Police Department located at 11301 West Lincoln Avenue in the amount of $476,686. Is there any?
Move to
approve. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing-
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
how often do they replace the generators?
These are 20 to 26 years old.
Okay.
There are two. So there's a little one that runs the 911 center, and then there was a bigger one for the rest of the building. So we're going to consolidate. The big one was too big. It was actually from the Iraq War. It was a military surplus. Got a good price for it, but it's really too big. So we're going to get a right-sized generator, one generator that will run the whole building if needed. And yeah, both generators, I guess, failed last summer, so they're I guess, need something reliable. You know, they absolutely have to have power at all times. Police chief has been very clear about that. So, yeah, 26 years, I guess, is about all we can expect. It's
That's the age of the building, correct?
Yeah, it was installed with the building, so.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item 27, Resolution 2022-0194, resolution to enter into a limited-term conservation easement with the Milwaukee Metropolitan...
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go for it.
I know what they are. What are they? I mean, what are you getting at here with this easement? What's the easement for?
So MMSD paid for the green infrastructure,
Right.
the bricks and the bioswale, and they want to make sure they get their money's worth. So they're forcing us to have this easement to maintain it, and if we don't, then the easement goes on to say that they could actually step in and protect their investment and maintain it and charge us. So it's really just MMSD protecting their investment, that we're going to take care of this for 10 years at least, and not ignore it or.
Other than plowing it, what are we maintaining?
We have to vacuum the stuff up
Oh, the
between the
cracks.
bricks, and
Okay,
we have
okay.
the plants. A lot of times, the first year of a bioswale, a lot of the plants die, so we may
Okay.
have to replant some of the plants. So there's going to be some maintenance, yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Is there compensation for this?
Well, they paid for the original installment. There's not compensation to maintain it, no.
Okay.
But they paid for almost the full cost of putting in the bricks. They didn't pay for everything, but they paid for the green infrastructure part of it. So they want that investment to be maintained for 10 years at least.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's what this is about.
Thank you.
Alderman Stefanski, you still have a question?
No, you asked my question.
Okay. Well, I got another one now. When we had that meeting at the farmer's market last summer, and there was discussion amongst people about getting a big vacuum cleaner that we could share with all of the other cities. Where did that go? Not the vacuum cleaner, where did the discussions go?
Nothing has happened. I don't know if Public Works will ask, as we go into the 23 budget, but yeah, we didn't allocate the money for it. I mean, there are
But
discussions.
that's what you got to clean these up with, is
Right.
a vacuum cleaner.
We have an attachment that works on our vac-alls.
Okay.
It's a little, I guess, clumsy. They were proposing like a gator, I think, that had a vac on it or something.
Okay.
So, I mean, we're going to be doing more of this, and eventually, it'll increasingly become more efficient to have a
Maybe we
better-
could buy
better
one
machine.
and rent it out to the other cities.
Well, and I was just going to say, MMSD, we've had discussions at our MMSD meetings about, all the communities are in the same boat, that you don't need the VAC-all, the whole year, and if you could share it, if MMSD could buy it and we could all lease it or rent it or something. So there have been discussions that haven't gotten too far yet, but that would be a good idea, yeah.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded, I believe. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 28,
Motion to approve.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded. Any new discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Motion carries. And then we jump down to item 29, Resolution 2022-0222, resolution relative to accepting proposals of Crescent Electric, and that's either GEX or GEX or GEX Pro, I don't know, Supply, and Near Electric for furnishing and delivering fuses, fuse holders, connectors, wire, cable, and luminaries for a total sum of $124,085.83.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and approved, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All.
Mr. Chair, are these for the new
Yeah, right. So
fixtures,
we're,
you might say?
we buy all the materials, just especially in the current environment where supply chain issues. So we'll have all the lights, we give them to the contractor, and so half the circuits are being done internally by Public Works, and another couple circuits are being done by a contractor. But we buy all the equipment and provide it so that we have it, because we're hearing, horrendous stories about, wouldn't be able to get stuff till August. So we're ordering the stuff now, so we'll have the materials for the contractor to use. For the most part, they're reusing the poles. They're just putting a new luminaire on it, but we buy the materials so that we'll have it.
So they're installing it.
We're going to have half of the stuff is supplied by Public Works and half installed by a contractor.
Thank you.
And when we buy it, then there's no sales tax.
Well, there isn't, they changed the law so that even if a contractor buys it.
Right, what about if a municipality?
What?
If a municipality buys it, doesn't the sales tax go away?
Right, but if a contractor buys it while they're working for a municipality, they don't have to pay sales tax anymore either.
Okay,
So,
okay,
so that, there's not that incentive necessarily anymore.
Okay, thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion
Opposed?
adjourned.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. The meeting of License and Health Committee will come to order. All members present with the exception of Alderman Vitale, who is excused. Item 34, 2022-0352, new Class A beer and liquor license for Vadeshvar Incorporated, doing business as West Allis Food and Spirits, 9127 West Lincoln Avenue. Agent Yes Pravan Patel.
Present.
Please come up. You can have a seat.
Sit down, please.
I don't know how it really went.
That's okay.
It took us a while, too.
Yeah, absolutely. So please tell us, I believe you and I had a conversation.
Yes, we did have a
But if you
conversation
can
a
give an
few days ago.
overview to the committee as to what your business is going to be about and what you would like to do with it.
So 92nd and Lincoln, it's on two of the busiest crossroads in all of the city of West Allis. So that location itself has been vacant for, I don't know, about 10 years now. And it's a very prime location, and it kind of looks like an eyesore right now. If you're coming off the freeway, going down to the hospital, someone looks at it like, doesn't look very curb appeal, I would say. So my proposal is I want to put a grocery store and liquor store in there. But with the current environment, with COVID and everything, I would want beer, liquor, cigarettes, and grocery in there. So it just gives me the most chance to survive, just, with everything going on. But with that being said, I am not going to turn it into a full liquor store. All the liquor will be present behind the counter, and it will be all standard sizes, which means there will be some 50s and up, so nothing like 50 ml shooters, half pints, pints, and stuff like that. They will all be big bottles, which people usually take home and drink with their family or at get-togethers. And all the wine will also be behind the counter.
Okay. Does anyone have any
Madam Chair,
questions?
Dan Road, I spoke with
we
you.
spoke as well.
Whenever, 2 weeks ago.
Yes, sir.
and I'm not in favor of this, as I kind of told
Yes,
you.
we
I
spoke about
wasn't pulling any punches there.
No,
and
100%.
And I'm trying to be.
I like the brutal honesty.
I'm trying to be as consistent as I can, because I voted against the one on 92nd in Cleveland. Neighbors are telling me that had enough liquor stores. We're getting to every half mile there now, we're having a liquor store. We got, 92nd. You don't need me to do it.
No,
It
100%.
goes
And-
all the way down.
Yes.
And then it goes towards McCarty Park. There's a liquor store every half mile. So I can't support this. You're probably the nicest, best manager on earth, but it's the whole liquor thing.
No, 100%. As we spoke, I'm not looking to turn into a full liquor store, even in my current locations. I don't believe in keeping that much inventory, and especially with the high school being so close, and especially them going to transition to maybe combining both the high schools, I wouldn't want to put any of the students or any of the parents uneasy with the idea of a full liquor store being right down the road. So, I understand your opinion, and I take that into consideration. So let's see what happens.
Right.
Mr. Patel, I have a question, and this was based on our conversation too. So Alderman Road, thank you for bringing that up, because I have concerns too with a full-on liquor store, and I shared that with you.
Yes, ma'am.
And I was more interested in the part that, and I understand the liquor is a big part of the revenue. However, I wanted just to hear your viewpoint on this and share with the council, if indeed a Class A would not be issued, would you be okay with a beer license only with minimal coolers and be more focused on a food grocery /
Yes. As we spoke, I do not mind starting with a Class A beer license with a Class C wine license, maybe,
Correct.
because wine is not a very high-based alcohol product.
Right.
So I will be more than open to starting with that. And, if the council, maybe in a year or 2 years, I apply again, and if you guys feel like I'm doing a good job, if the neighbors have their concerns eased, and I'd be more than open to reapplying that day and hopefully get a fair shot at once again at that given time to apply for a Class A full liquor license.
Okay, I have 2 more questions. Are you planning on purchasing the building or leasing it?
Well, right now it's a lease. The current owner does not want to sell, but eventually when he does want to sell, and if this does go through, I will be the first right of refusal on the building.
Okay. Is there a term on that lease?
Right now is a 10-year lease with a what's called chance to keep going until 30 years. Then if he does decide to sell, then until I pass away.
Okay. That was very final. But what do you plan on doing? Are there any plans as far as the aesthetics of the property?
So the backspace, when you're driving from going north on 92nd, the backspace is huge and off the side of the building because it's a brick building. I did want to do something that represents West Dallas's rich history, so maybe like a nice mural or something where it looks very nice, because especially when you come off of Lincoln, off the highway, if you see a nice mural, people are very inclined to say, wow, this is very nice. Then in front of the building, there's like some flower plats and stuff like that. I want to plant flowers, roses, lilies and stuff like that during the summer. So it looks like a very nice building, and, that's how I want to keep it. I don't want to keep it where it's, just nothing but signs that say liquor and stuff like that. No, I want to keep it a very nice, high, class and establishment.
How many years have you been in business with other locations?
So I started working for my parents when I was 13, 14 years old. I'm currently 23 years old. I own my own business for the last 18, so like 5 years about now. So in the liquor store industry itself, I've been in it for 3.5 years.
Okay. And how many locations do you own?
2.
2 locations.
Both of them in Racine, Wisconsin.
Okay. All right, that finishes up my questions. Are there-
One more thing,
Go
Manager.
ahead.
What wall are you painting?
So if you're coming off of, it's kind of hard to describe, but if you're coming off of Lincoln from the freeway, if you stop at the red light, you can see the brick wall that goes parallel with 92nd.
So it's the west wall?
Yes, west,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
It's because it's a nice big piece that if painted very nicely, it could be a nice attractive piece.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just wanted to provide clarification on the Class C wine licenses. Those are only to be issued for restaurants if the sale of alcohol beverages accounts for less than 50% of the gross profit, so they're not for
Okay.
stores.
My
Okay, so
apologies,
you would
then
not
just a
qualify
Class
for
A
that.
beer license.
Okay.
Is there a Class A beer and wine license that?
That's
Nope.
the full liquor.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, then Class A beer license I'll be fine with too.
Okay. Now, as it's requested right now, it's Class A beer and liquor. Are there any more, is there more discussion on this?
Madam Chair, Do you have any other locations in West Dallas other than this one?
No, ma'am. I'm actually partnered with my brother right here. He owns the Subway on 67th and Greenfield. He just 67th and Greenfield in the little
67?
yes, in that little Hobby Lobby mall.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so he recently opened it up last year. So we want to make West Dallas. We're not looking to go anywhere for a long time. So we just want to keep bringing more businesses in. But otherwise, no liquor license, no liquor stores in West Dallas. No, ma'am.
I see. Okay. I did go and view the building myself to see. You have a number of coolers.
Yes.
Number of coolers. So how do you plan on filling them with, there's
So-
at least 20 coolers.
Yes.
If not more.
So it's actually a 13-door cooler, which 5
I
are
saw it.
a freezer. So the freezer is going to be frozen pizzas, ice cream, French fries and stuff like that. But the rest of the doors, which is 8, 3 doors are going to be for beer, and 5 doors are going to be for soda, milk, and dairy products. I am going to be looking to bring in standing coolers just for more sodas, juices, and stuff like that, cold coffee, beverages.
Because you have a whole length of the room
Yes.
with coolers.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, but you plan on filling basically only 3 with the beer?
Yes, ma'am.
I see.
Just keeping the
And what
top
kind of food do you plan on having in this store?
chips, groceries, canned food, then household products. Yeah.
It's a very large room,
Yes.
very, very large room.
So I'm looking to keep a full line of grocery products. So you could come and get maybe a box of pasta if you ran out. Just come by and grab it real quick, or some, macaroni and cheese, or some, you just got off work at 6 o'clock and you just
I
want to
like
grab
the
some
aspect of
ramen
the
noodles.
food. Yeah, because we don't have a food store.
Exactly. And, it's kind of a food desert. Especially the other thing is, I do want to bring in slushies and stuff like that, because I know the high school's right there. So
Right.
kids in the morning, they want to grab something energetic and wake them up. So like cold coffee, like the Starbucks coffee, or some hot coffee, or cappuccinos and stuff like that. I want to bring that in so the kids have somewhere to stop before they go to school, and they could grab some snacks throughout the day.
That was a concern of mine as well, with the school being in close proximity. We do have a distance requirement as far as I am aware of.
Yeah, it meets the requirement, I think.
Yeah, I think
If
it's.
you meet that
1,000 feet.
distance requirement, Kale isn't here right now.
They do meet it.
They do make it, because there is a distance, I
Yes,
know,
the-
between the hospital and.
Yep, the 1,000.
300
Pardon me?
feet for that.
Pardon me?
It's 300 feet for
Yes.
alcohol. It's
Right.
1,000 for the,
Cigarettes.
yes.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes, I had spoken to Nick about it. So those are the questions that I have so far.
Okay.
I do approve of just beer.
Okay. Is it requested as beer and liquor?
No, it's
No.
full-blown.
It's full-blown. So if it were to be approved and there's a motion for approval, it would need to be agreeable on your end as to if it would be beer only.
That's fine. I can, if you want me to resubmit the application, I can resubmit it, or I could file an affidavit with a lawyer, and we can just have it written down in paper and notarized.
Okay, if I
with the
may
city.
ask, Rebecca, what would the process be?
I think you can just say that you're
We can
going to
amend it
withdraw
here.
the
Oh, okay.
liquor here, and that.
Apply
and
for
that
a Class
just-
A.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, if it's approved, then I can just withdraw it right now and just say it again for
So-
a Class A beer license.
So now it's beer only. And your business plan or your map, didn't see one, just 3 coolers of beer?
Yes, sir.
Even now that we're going,
Yes, it was gonna be the same. The biggest focus was always for the grocery aspect of it,
Right.
more than the alcohol aspect of it.
and then
Okay.
your hours, I don't have your business plan here in front of me. Your hours,
Okay.
8 to 9, sir.
8 to 9?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Have you made a diagram? of the
I did submit
facility?
it. I submitted all my applications online, and I did submit it with that as well.
Because we didn't have that view.
I submitted it online because it was part of one of the check marks to fully submit the
In the
application.
packet, right, Rebecca?
Rebecca, do we have it?
I don't have a copy of it printed out, but we have a copy of it online.
Oh, I'd like to see it.
Yes?
So I believe this is the one that Gina put on hold, because my understanding, I'm Bob with the health department. Are you meeting with the health department tomorrow?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's the pending license or the approval that still has to happen before it's officially completed.
Okay.
So I don't
And
know if that prompts Gina.
So
to-
you can.
we can hold,
You can either hold it or you can make a recommendation to grant it and then it just gets held at the council.
Okay.
Like we were doing with
that's
the
what I
other
meant,
ones.
held at
Yeah.
council level. So with that being said, is there any more discussion before a motion would be called on?
What are we holding?
Meaning that if it is approved based on it being
Oh, holding it
just a
subject to the
beer, that
necessary
it would hold
improvements.
until the necessary permits
Okay.
are granted. And that would be the motion based on you withdrawing
The Class A
and
full liquor license and
requesting
Class
the
A
beer only,
No problem.
limited to 3 beer coolers. Do I have a motion on the floor?
Motion of what you just said.
Approve as
Approve as amended
amended,
and
yes.
held to council floor. Is there a second?
A second. But can we view the establishment, the plan?
I can try to pull it up on my phone right now, but I can send it to you later if you want. I mean, I don't have a copy of it that's not online at this point. We need to make sure that we print out, when we give you the packets, we have
My
that
IT
in
guy here
there.
working on it.
I don't see it in the packet. That's why I was breezing through
You
it here.
have it?
I got the 734-page packet, and I
I
don't
have
see
a
it here.
picture on my phone if you want
All
to
I
view.
saw was the room and
Would you
the
mind
coolers.
bringing that up?
Yeah, no
Please,
problem.
thank you.
Just give me 1 second to find it real quick now.
It'd be like me, I'd be like
That's
this.
the time we look at the diagram and there's no bathrooms and,
No, we have a ADA approved bathroom as well. And a ADA, let me just keep moving around. And a ADA approved counter as well for handicaps.
I appreciate that.
No problem, ma'am.
Do I have to request a vote on that? If there's a motion, or it's just going to council floor?
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we want to bring this up a little bit. Can you see on that angle? So here, and if you want to view it like this, let's see if we can turn it
I
this
think
way.
it's gonna keep
Okay,
rotating.
gonna keep rotating.
Yeah, it's just one of those
So,
weird pictures.
here we go. I'm gonna just give you that. So the counter's here, display counter, ADA counter. Then we go back here, and that's the bathroom, also ADA. Here's a hallway.
Okay.
Then you have the hand washing counter. Is that gondola shelving?
Yes, that's just a term we use in convenience store lingo
Okay.
for shelving.
So here's the counter. Oh, oops. Yeah, fingers go quick. Counter, bathroom. Here's the shelving in the central area of the store. And then you look over here, and that would be the 3-door freezer and the 9-door cooler, 3 of which are going to be beer, the rest will be food and frozen items.
Okay.
Okay? Does anybody else want to see this?
No,
I'm good.
All right.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
All right, we have,
we don't have to amend anything, right? It's the 3 coolers.
yes,
Three
it's
quarters
already,
plus
Okay.
it will be
Oh,
amended
okay,
as such.
thank you.
So I have a motion for approval and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
I was going to be in, yeah.
Oh, I'm
opposed?
sorry, opposed?
No.
Oh,
Thank you. So 3 in favor, 1 opposed. I'm sorry, Alderman Roat.
That's okay.
I don't get to, play with that gavel too often.
Practice makes perfect.
Yes,
It's right here if
absolutely.
you need
So, thank you. So, moving on to item 35, 2022-0372, 2021-2023 new operators license bartender Class D operator application for Maxwell Anderson. Is Maxwell Anderson here? Any information, any call?
No, this is the first non-appearance.
First non-appearance. Do we have a motion on the floor?
We'll just hold it right for the, don't we do 2?
We can do that, yes.
And on next cheat sheet, he said he's got 1 pending OWI.
Yeah.
Okay.
The second one.
So either we can hold?
Yeah, let's hold it for the second
Okay.
appearance, if you
So
don't
there's a
mind.
motion to hold. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item 36, 2022-0383, 2021-23, new operators license bartender Class C operator application for Alyssa Carlick. Is Alyssa here? Okay.
Also, the first non-appearance. I'm sorry.
Non-appearance, is there a motion?
Motion to hold.
Motion to hold.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Item 37, Class B Tavern Seasonal Temporary Premise Extension Request for Polly's Pub, 8031 West Greenfield Avenue from May 1st, 2022 through September 30th, 2022. That's item 2022-0382.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Budiak, is there,
I
I was motioning so we get to discussion.
we're going to have discussion either way, but there is a motion now, so there's a motion. Mr. Budiak, thank you for coming. Can you let us know what you're planning on doing? We looked at the plan, I looked at the plan, and if you want to just give an overview.
Yeah, when we did the application, they said do full months. So they said do May through September. So
thank you.
I don't have it on me.
Okay.
I remember. What we did Sundays or on holidays and or Friday or Saturday. We'd rather do Saturdays if that, I mean, it was a lot of work last year to do those 2 days. So we have a lot of Sundays booked and some Saturdays booked. If you look at the highlighted portions, Summerfest, because we run shuttles, it doesn't pay, and it would be more dangerous for people to come through the parking lot and
Okay.
things like that.
So all the highlighted ones are going to be
No outdoor bands.
no outdoor bands.
Right. I know last year there was questions on parking, so we talked to State Fair. I've got a meeting with her next Tuesday.
Okay.
For overflow across the street. We've inquired on the property on 80th Street that has Napa. He does not want to sell that at this
Okay.
time. And then there was additional parking on the north side of Greenfield that was implemented last year to try to alleviate some of those things. So we are in the process of working on those things too. So these are what we have. The last day is September 18th would be the Sunday before Harvest Fest.
Okay.
And then the first day would be the Friday or Saturday of Memorial Day.
Okay.
But Eric Church is at Miller Park, and we expect to run 200 shuttles. So I talked to my booker today and said, don't even do anything out in the parking lot because we're going to need those. So there are a bunch of events that things on Saturdays will shift.
All right.
To not have them, so.
And then just so it's clear, it's not like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's a Friday or a Saturday. We're hoping it would be a Saturday. Sometimes it was a
Yeah, a couple bands called last year and said, we got this canceled. We've got to make money for 3 days. Can you do us on a Friday? It was Bobby Frist.
Okay.
That he did that. And I said, whatever you need to do, because we've had a relationship with him for a long time. So, and it seemed to work out, so.
So the highlighted one, sir, is where you have no outdoor band?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when you use the shuttles?
Yes, on some of them, like Air Church is the 28th. Motley Crue is like July 17th. So those are dates that it would not be safe for our customers to do the parking lot. Plus, it would be overflow parking with, it's like opening day. It's kind of like a mess.
I
So what we
understand.
try to
Right.
do is keep it as clean
But
as
the rest of
possible.
them, you will have a band?
Some of them are either Friday or Saturday.
Right.
And then the Sundays, yes.
Have you eliminated the Monday then? other
Mondays
than
are done
May
and
30th?
Mondays are done and Tuesdays. The only 3 Mondays are Memorial Day, Labor Day, and 4th of July possibly. So.
And that's when you would have four events?
No.
No.
No, I mean for the week.
No, it would be 3 at the most.
3 at the most.
3 at the most, yep, those 3 weeks with the holiday, yep.
Right.
Yep.
Because I didn't want it every Monday.
Right, we did last year was weird. We had a guy that had worked in the industry for years, and he was starting a new barbecue business because their whole people got let go. So we basically did it to help support him in his start.
I see.
Because it was a lot of work on that
But now
Monday after Sunday, yeah.
You've reduced it to
Yeah,
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it sounds like.
Friday or Saturday, unless
Not
it's those holiday weekends. So it's only 2 days at the most. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So 2 days at the most over a weekend period, every weekend of the summer, with the exception of the highlighted, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm counting this up, it looks like 36 events is, 36 dates is what I'm counting up.
30 events is what we had on here, so.
Okay. Maybe I miscalculated, but I'm counting over here into the September 2, which says max of 7. One of the concerns that was brought to my attention was obviously the zoning ordinance changes. Steve Scher obviously went over that, and this being would this be this final year that you are planning on doing this with these changes?
That's one of the things we had talked about. We had a meeting prior to kind of go over. One of the things that the city is starting to lose tax revenue for certain things. So I was approached to not tear down our duplex because it's a form of tax revenue. So we don't want to do that. That's the case in this format where it'll have to be, and then we'll see what happens next year. I have no idea what's going on next year. We did this to make sure that we can pre-plan, set up everything to the best of our abilities to make the least amount of impact on the community, and still service the community. So, I know some people had asked about our commitment. We've been here 20 years. We just bought 2 lots to build duplexes in the city of West Dallas. So that's kind of where we stand right now. So I'd rather not tear down the house, trust me.
Right.
I still owe on it, so I don't want to do anything like that. But you don't know what the environment's going to be next year. We don't know what the environment is week to week anymore on what's
Right.
going on. So it's just tough.
Well, my concern, as it was last year, and I'll just reiterate that, was the amount of complaints that came in and the petition that came through. And we can't turn a deaf ear to it. I can't personally. It's not my district to represent, but you're, here in front of License and Health, and I have to do my due diligence to the constituents that have complained. I know that you have attempted to work with them, but I feel personally that this is too much, too many events. That doesn't mean that others on the council will not feel that way or share my sentiment, but I'm going to hold true to what I stated based on really that outreach last year. And we ended the season with saying that when you came and asked for those additional special use days into October, and we granted them. I think it was September. Yeah. So with all due respect, that's really my stance. I'm gonna stay with that. I did have a suggestion and recommendation, if indeed there are any other concerns with the committee, that you cut those days. I don't know how, well, obviously it would be impactful to your business, but I'd be more concerned with the amount of days and coming up with, or maybe half of those events.
And can I make a comment right now?
Absolutely.
I just was
Absolutely.
going to say too, as far as that goes, the neighborhood has the public hearing to come to. No one did show up and say anything. So I just would like that on the record.
Yeah. And I noticed that too. And it's just one of those things that too, it's like out of sight, out of mind, then all of a sudden when it's happening, then the complaints come in. And it's kind of like a day late, dollar short. You're scrambling to make nice with everybody else when you're doing all you could to make it right to begin with.
The one was started because of parking, and that was the home show had taken up all the streets, and he had his apartment complex has 8 parking spots.
Yeah.
and he was number 9, so he couldn't park. So that's
Okay.
why he got angry at me. And it was the home show, so it was like, you know, the countertop people and everything were taking up the street.
Yeah, but it sounds like you resolved that with having that auxiliary
Right, and
parking
he's the
over
one
by
that,
State Fair.
right, and he's the one that started the other thing. So
Okay.
we have like 4 or 5 people that consistently come in from those buildings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we try. If you talk to the health department, our decibel levels are at 100. We were at 65.
Mm-hmm.
We were at 70. I mean, that's like me and you talking in certain points. So we
Right.
really, I mean, my guys on there are professionals, and I'm like, you have to do this, otherwise you're not going to work. And that's, they needed to work as much as possible, and a lot of them still do to make up what
Mm-hmm.
they're losing. So
Okay, well, I appreciate you answering all my questions. Does anybody else have any
Alderman Grisham?
questions? Go ahead.
I heard half of the second district at the Plan Commission, and you didn't have a problem with this, correct? And then the other
I
half?
have no problem with it.
Okay. And every time I drove by there, when you were having events last year, it was always quiet, you know.
we're out in the morning. We get there back at 6 in the morning.
I know.
Our goal
I've
is
seen you.
Yeah, our goal is a half hour after the event, everything's cleaned up, everything's taken care of. I mean, we had a big event, and all of our customers helped clean the tables, move the tables, take all the garbages. I mean, it's a real strong community that we have, and we're happy to have them, so.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so there is a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Oh, there was
There was a motion.
Oh, second.
Okay, any further discussion?
I have a problem with every weekend you are having your festive activities. Is it lucrative for you to have it every weekend versus maybe 2 weekends a month?
The costs that are incurred with the rental of equipment and different things like that, it becomes cost prohibitive to a certain point in time. We had one of the tents that was previously there last year. We took that down to address the changes in parking abilities. So that's 6 or 7 more things. For cohesiveness, for everything, to do it on a scheduled pattern, it is more cost effective. So,
I
to answer
see.
your question.
Your parking is very limited by your bar.
We have 3 different parking lots.
You have
So-
an additional parking
Yes,
lot.
we have 33 in the first lot, we have 26 in the second lot, and 19 in our third lot. So compared to a lot of other locations in West Allis, we have way more. Plus, we have parking on North Greenfield now, and like I said, we're working with State Fair. There's that lot across the street to see if we can rent that to work with the community more. And we had inquired on the property on 80th with where Greenfield, or where Napa is, because he can't park there anymore for State Fair. So I thought maybe he would want to take some steps to get rid of that, and he doesn't want to do that right now. So,
And just to like, if you look how it's broken down, like June, max of 7 events. July, max of 9 events. August has a max of 4 events. September, a max of 7. You know, so it's,
Remember, these highlighted ones.
It's
are
not
indoor-
every
these are-
weekend then
these are
in
indoor.
August, like you're saying.
right.
yeah, well,
So,
we have State Fair.
Right.
And there's different things, you know, that's 2 weekends of August that nothing is going on, thank God, because we couldn't handle it. That 11 days is very taxing.
That's a lot.
Yep.
All right, thank you. You have a very lucrative business.
It's a lot of work, 30 years. Been
Yes.
doing it 30 years.
Yes.
And it always hasn't been lucrative. I'm telling you God's honest truth, man. You run a business, you know. So
Polly, is field trips open? Is your field trip open?
Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, that's it. Yep.
All right.
So, and that was one of the things that we did, because if somebody else owned Field Trip, they might be able to do music. And when we first started this, it said, you know what, we'll take that out of the equation and concentrate on Paulie's, because the sound levels going towards State Fair, if everything gets approved, it was more beneficial to everything, so.
Okay.
Alderwoman Grisham, I just have a
Yes,
question.
go ahead.
The events for Mondays, when were they ending? Mondays?
7.
7?
Yeah.
Anything else?
And that might not even happen on the 4th. That's my birthday, and I haven't had off in 22 years. So,
All right, so there's a motion, there's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. And so we have 3 in favor, 1 opposed.
Yep.
Thank you both.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
All right, item 38, 2022-0400, communication regarding the Enforcement and Nuisance Control 2022 Budget Initiative. And we have our Health Commissioner, Bob Leishow, here. How are you?
Living the dream.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us.
So, I'm not sure how you want to roll this out.
I could just start for a minute and then
Sure.
you can take over since you're overseeing most of this. As you're all aware, one of the initiatives that the council approved in the mayor's budget had to do with nuisance abatement and things like that. And there were 5 different components of that. The garbage cart standardization, you're familiar with that because you are also on the Public Works Committee, so you know how we're going on with that. As of February 28th, 53% of the people still need to purchase a new cart.
Okay.
Since we're a few days from that, hopefully more people have. That was the first component of that. The second is code enforcement efforts consolidated and reorganized. We're going to be moving forward on hiring the director in the building inspection, but we want to kind of refocus that department to be more of a code enforcement. It is now, but just change the name and have that be managing our nuisance abatement and code enforcement. And then also training all of our city staff that do inspections, not just the health department and building inspection, but we have the fire department and other departments that go out to properties so that they will be able to understand what might be a rat infestation or something that could lead to that, and then report that so we can follow up on that. I think, so those are those 2. I think the last 3 you're probably more involved in. So
Sure.
if you want to get into that.
Yeah, so on page 9, I believe it corresponds with the booklet you have. It'd be the third objective, really, resident engagement and partnership. And so just generally recognizing that in order for this to be successful, we're going to really have to hammer hard away at just informing and educating the resident population. And so there are proposed different activities to do that in partnership with us in communications and others to really just kind of reinforce our education strategies to be more proactive, but also invite people to different types of community forums where they can actually learn more about some of the proper abatement measures.
We really need to focus on having the residents help on this initiative because we, as employees in the city, we need their partnership because
I would agree because my concerns have been over the years. It's very surprising to me how many people aren't aware of the basic fundamental rat control measures, such as picking up dog feces. That's common thing to know, and they don't know it. So it makes me wonder, what are we doing on our end to make sure this information gets out? Because yes, it's great when we have a neighborhood cleanup, but that's such a minimal percentage of community that we're reaching. And I really do encourage, one of the other things is, you know, you have one property on the block that is noted, calling in and saying they have a problem. And I think you already do this, Bob, is you reach out to that entire block, correct? So everybody's informed. Yeah, so I'm liking what I'm seeing so far.
Yep. Yeah, and I think too, it ties in nicely with, again, one of the, I think the mayor's initiative or the city initiative to be more robust with just the neighborhood associations and get folks more involved at that level. And then on page 11, we address nuisance animal abatement, which really is largely much of what the city is already doing. So as you can see under actions taken, that list is pretty exhaustive to this point in terms of what health department is doing, what BINS is doing, what DPW is already doing with regard to this issue. And as we turn the page to 13, you know, one thing that we as a work group have been working on is. Oh, it's blank. Okay, sorry.
I was like, 13's blank. Do we have the invisible pen?
Page 10, now we're on page 11. We were on
11.
page
Okay.
10.
Thank
Let me
you.
go to the proper book. Okay.
We're all over here.
So under the nuisance abatement, you know, the list of planned activities or actions in progress and planned actions is pretty exhaustive, but to include really just looking at again, more use of data to actually identify what we're calling hotspots at this point. So this is a work in progress. I guess, again, referring to your handy dandy booklet here, if you look at the map, the data points to this point have largely begun to help us recognize where we've got areas where over the past few years we're beginning to see some predominant activity. So in the context of potentially recruiting or bidding out for a pest control company, we're going to essentially share this with them and talk with them about you know, how they can target specific neighborhoods. And so the importance of data, you know, certainly can't be underscored because it's going to help us now, but then also as we look 2, 3, 5 years down, we're going to be able to see, you know, improvements hopefully with regard to the number of complaints that we're not getting anymore.
Okay.
And we've been meeting weekly with all of the city departments and just talking over the actions. We're going to start having subcommittees so we can really focus on different things moving forward.
Okay.
And then on page 12, we address, I think it's objective number 5 with regard to the city plan, our ordinance changes. And so myself and Rebecca and Kale, as well as Nick, have had a couple conversations with regard to reviewing current ordinance and looking at opportunities where we can shore up some of the language to allow not just health department but other departments who are in inspection mode, number one, identify issues, but almost on the spot is what we're talking about, issue an order, letting that resident know that we were here for a particular reason and we identified harborage areas, and then on the spot issuing potentially an order that we would leave behind or issue directly. And so it's not necessarily a citation immediately, but it's just elevating the importance of what we're recognizing.
Now, I have a question. With an order, what would be the subsequent process, and what happens if there is non-compliance?
So there's going to have to be a stepwise checks and balances. So any order that gets issued is going to ideally go into OpenGov is what we're kind of conceptualizing at this point. And it will allow those of us who are in the field to essentially monitor or just know that an order has been submitted, and then there will be prompts in the system for us to do that follow-up.
Okay.
So that's the concept, at least at this point, but it's still being built.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
And eventually, if they don't take care of it, it could get to some type of a nuisance
Yeah.
enforcement, and that's the part we want to work out.
Well, and that was one of my thoughts. I'm sure you'll work that out, but would it be like a non-maintenance to your sidewalk and then the city comes in and then all of a sudden you're billed for it? I don't know to what degree and what overreach that would be or what resource that would take. That would be a lot. But I want to make sure that the residents at least know that when they get an order, you mean business, you need action in order for this to really be effective.
Our expectation is that in the next year or so, as we're focusing on this more, the complaints are going to rise. And then in a few years, then we'll be able to level them out. We're not going to be able to completely eradicate rats in an urban environment. They've been around for hundreds
forever.
of years.
Yeah.
And then the remainder of the booklet is essentially just a reference material of activities and documentation that the city has largely already been implementing. So those are for reference at this point. Page 18 is just the listing of the work group members, so you can see it's a pretty robust and well-represented group of folks. 19 represents essentially the current health department code response process. So we're looking to that as really, again, I think an opportunity to build in some of the processes that other departments are now actively engaged in with regard to this. So ideally it will be reflective of really anybody in every department that is involved in this process.
Well, it's looking like we're tackling it on all levels, and that's great. My biggest issue is obviously having our community on board to it, because we can't do it without them.
True.
So, all right, well, I thank you very much. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Dan?
I couldn't quite hear you. Does it pretty much go notice, order, summons, and complaint? Or don't, because that's what BINS has.
Right.
I think we're trying to skip the notice.
The notice. Yeah, we're talking about just going right to an order.
Right, but you were saying you did some sort of interaction with the homeowner, like send a nastygram out or something like that?
That's the current process, so when we go...
So that's pretty much your notice?
That's right now, yeah. Yeah, and that's the information that is shared with that resident, you know, that we have responded to a complaint, there's been an inspection, and there have been harborage or rats identified. So that's essentially the notification. We're talking about essentially just moving away from even that first step and going to an order. So saying, you know, that these infractions have been identified and you have X number of days to actually clean up your act.
That's a great idea.
And
I think
could you kind of keep us in the loop too when you send that out, to send the alderman out as well?
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
This is a work in progress.
Okay.
And yeah, absolutely. I think it's on the docket just to, of course, you know, keep you guys informed of the ongoing development of this in general. And then certainly, you know, once we do get to that point of issuing orders, absolutely.
Thank you.
Let the alders know.
Well, thank you very much. I have a question. Are we having our field inspectors doing anything on our videos to identify? Did you guys think of that in the communication aspect of it? That there would be, okay, this is what this looks like on a property and what to look for. Because I think that might be another additional outreach that would really be purposeful. And I think from what I've heard from residents that have reached out to me, they are really very impressed with our field inspectors on this. So, good team from what I have heard. and I'd like to learn about that too. So I thought a video, anytime we can hit that, social media or otherwise, and have that visual, I think it's very effective too.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm pleased that we're promoting this abatement program. I think it's a timely thing right now, because looking at the map, it looks like eventually the rat population is reaching my district.
There's no strategy.
I'd rather nip it in the bud where it is.
Let's draw the lines, Rosie.
Yes,
They're already
I think
in
we
my
only
area.
have one red dot. Anyway,
Right by your house, too.
Yeah. Well, I would like to announce they're in my
but I
neighborhood
think
as well.
it's lucrative that we get proactive with our population. It's time. People aren't used to having these rodents in their yard. I had indicated to Bob that it is something that I basically grew up with, because we had, at that time, we just had these ash boxes, and that was a long time ago. And the DPW would come through, push over the ash boxes, and the rats would scurry out. Well, we never got rid of that rat population. I mean, they burrowed into the streets and the sewers, and therefore, we never really took care of them. They've been here longer than what we have.
Maybe we should bring the ash boxes.
Yes, with the ash boxes, yes.
They can be in there.
But anyway, that dates
Right.
me. That dates me. But I'm glad that we're getting our people involved, because
jokes
we
there.
need the people involved to solve the problem. And I have to commend you on this book. I think it's very complete. You did a wonderful job, whoever put it together, and I applaud you. Inspections,
I'm sure everyone did, but you
Yeah, there's a whole
just gave the nod to you, Rebecca.
Inspections, enforcement, the pest control businesses were mentioned. Apparently, if there's too many problems, we'll call on a business, it sounds like.
We're not there yet,
Pest control businesses, if it
Yeah.
gets,
but certainly I think in the
too hard to
context-
manage.
Yeah, in the context of people having ownership of taking ownership for, potentially having rats or rodents,
Right.
on their property, there is some culpability to that. And,
Okay.
it's definitely a strategy that we need to, keep in mind.
Well, enforcement probably will be a little more difficult, I would say. But if the people are given the information, and I assume that we're going to be promoting this through the media and various avenues, so with this knowledge, they'll be able to do a lot themselves if they're motivated enough. But as I indicated to you, I commend you. It's a start, but we need to start someplace.
Absolutely. Is there any more discussion? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn? Thank you very much, by the way.
Move to adjourn.
So we have to,
I'm sorry.
39.
We have 39? Where are we going here? Suzette, settle down.
Move to place on file.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Bob.
He said move to place on file, I said second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Motion to
opposed?
adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned.
Okay,
Thank you all for putting up with
Okay.
me.
Anybody
Advisory
want this
come to order.
hammer?
No, I was thinking it would have been nice, but
I had a hammer all my.
we're all good.
Okay, advisory come to order.
Fell there,
Let the minutes reflect that all members are present with the exception of Alderman Vitale, who is excused. Number 40 on the agenda is appointment of Scott Bigger to the Tourism Commission for 1 year.
Motion to approve.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. I think we've all received information about Scott, so I think we can be very pleased that he will be coming aboard the Tourism Commission. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 41, the appointment of Petra Thurridge to the Historical Commission.
Move
Motion to approve, Madam Chair.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Again, we've received information about Petra. Very knowledgeable, it sounds like. She will be a good fit. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. And then we have number 42, appointment of Jessica Yanni to the Farmers Market Committee.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Reappointment of Henry Keisel to the Farmers Market Committee.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Then we have the reappointment of Pat Wickenhauser, David Rymaszewski, and Margie Madek to the Commission on Aging.
Move to approve.
Second.
All good people. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Reappointments, number 45 of Linda Taylor to the Public Beautification Committee.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Lastly, we have number 46, reappointment of Alex Geiger to the Downtown West
Motion
Dallas
to approve.
Business
Second.
Improvement District. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor of Alex?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Motion
Move to adjourn.
It's been moved and
Second.
seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Amen.
We're getting yelled at.
Meeting will come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderperson Weigel.
Here.
Grisham.
Here.
Haas.
Here.
Keen.
Here.
Lysick.
Here as acting mayor.
Ranky.
Here.
Rote.
Here.
Stefanski.
Here.
Tenorio.
Here.
8 present, 1 excused.
Reports of standing committees, administration and finance led by Alderman Haas.
And Ms. Grill?
The Administration and Finance Committee recommended the following: placing on file of item 17, passage of item 18, adopting items 19 through 22, and placing on file item 23.
Mr. President, I move for approval of the committee report.
Is there any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderperson Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Keen.
Aye.
Ranky.
Here. Oh, I'm sorry.
Rote.
Aye.
Stefanski.
Aye.
Tenorio.
Aye.
8 in favor, 1 excused.
Motion carries. Public Works Committee led by Alderman Rote.
The Public Works Committee recommended adoption of items 24 through 29.
I move in accordance to the committee report, President Lysick.
It's been moved for adoption of the committee report. Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderperson Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Keen.
Aye.
Reinke.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Stefanski.
Aye.
Tenorio.
Aye.
8 in favor, 1 excused.
Motion carries. Safety and Development Committee led by Alderman Tenorio.
The Safety and Development Committee recommended holding items 30 and 31 and adoption of item 32. I'm calling out number 33 separately.
We don't have to call it out separately.
Okay.
I can't
That was
vote on it.
approved on 4-1.
It's been,
Mr. President, I move for adoption of the committee report.
it's been moved for the committee report for approval. Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderperson Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Keen.
Aye.
Reinke.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Stefanski.
Aye.
Tenorio.
Aye.
8 in favor, 1 excused.
Motion carries. Report of the License and Health Committee led by Alderwoman Grisham.
The License and Health Committee recommended granting but holding item 34 in the council and holding items 35 and 36, passing item 37, and placing item 39 on file.
President Lysick, I move to adopt the committee report.
Committee report has been moved for approval.
President Lysick, was 34 held? I thought we voted on that.
You voted to grant it, but hold it until they've completed the requirement, so it's being held between
Okay.
the committee and the council. So you recommended granting, but the final action today
Okay.
is holding in council.
It was granting,
So are we pulling that separate? Because I was a no vote on that.
We can,
we're granting a Class A, is that what it is, or?
Beer.
the Class
Beer
A,
only.
Beer only?
yes,
Okay, that's what I thought.
yeah.
Right.
Okay, so it's not a Class A license then, so the committee moved for approval of a beer license pending approval.
But it
of
came out
all
3-1.
apartments.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
So it should be acted upon separately on a 3-1 vote? Okay.
And 37 was the
Item
same.
37 as well.
37 as well?
Correct.
Mr.
Okay,
Chair?
so on items 35, 36, 38, and 39, correct? Those are all for approval?
I think Kale wants to say something.
Mr. Chair, item 34 does not need to be voted on by the council tonight, given the request from the committee. So there's no need to bring up number 34 for tonight.
So 34 is
held.
not acted on at all tonight?
Unless the council wishes to discharge the committee and force a vote, which it could do, it will be automatically held unless the council adopts that kind of motion procedurally.
Okay.
And it'll be automatically held based on inspections and that?
And presented at the
Yeah,
next
standard
council meeting.
protocol now.
Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you. So again, on 35, 30, now you got me confused. 35, 36, 38, and 39, is that right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. There's been a motion for approval. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And then item 37, correct? Is the one that is voted on 3-1. Alderwoman Grisham, is there a motion? On item 37?
It was a motion to approve.
Okay, it's been moved to approve item 37. Any discussion?
So sorry.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderperson Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
No.
Haas.
Aye.
Keen.
Aye.
Ranky.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Stefanski.
Aye.
Tenorio.
Aye.
7 in favor, 1 opposed, 1 excused.
Motion carries. Advisory Committee, led by Alderwoman Ranky.
The advisory committee recommended approval of items 40 to 46.
It's been moved for approval for,
Mr. President, I move for approval of the committee report.
thank you. It's been moved for approval of the committee report. Is there any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderperson Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Keen.
Aye.
Ranky.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Stefanski.
Aye.
Tenorio.
Aye.
8 in favor, 1 excused.
Motion carries.
Mr. President,
Alderman Haas.
I move we adjourn until our next meeting Thursday, April 7th. Not
Second.
Tuesday, Thursday, April 7th.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.